Good morning. Today is the October 11th Buncombe County Community Briefing. I'm Lillian Govis, Director of Communications and Public Engagement for Buncombe County. We'll be joined today by Black Mountain Fire Chief John Coffey, AB Tech President Dr. John Gossett, Dogwood Health Trust CEO Dr. Susan Mims, Dr. Ashfaq Ashunadin, and then he is the Chief of Staff at the Charles George VA, and the City of Asheville Assistant City Manager Ben Woody. For level setting heading into the weekend, we will continue these 11 a.m. briefings on Saturday and on Sunday throughout the weekend. So we will be here continuing to provide updates to our community over the weekend. At this time, I'll turn it over to County Manager Avril Pender.
Good morning. Today is the last day to register to vote. Go to www.buncombecounty.org/vote or call our office at 828-250-4200. That is buncombecounty.org/vote or call our office at 828-250-4200. Early voting starts on Thursday, and you can also register at any of these early voting locations. You cannot register to vote on Election Day. Find early voting locations at www.buncombecounty.org/vote or again, call 828-250-4200. Remember that this year you must have an ID for voting this year. Stop by your office at 59 Woodfin Place in Asheville, and we can make you one for free in about 10 minutes. So this year you will have to bring an ID, or you can get one at 59 Woodfin Place. Takes about 10 minutes to get that ID. The landfill will be open tomorrow from 8 till 3. The transfer station at Harmony Creek will be open from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for household bag trash only. The transfer station is for residential household bag trash early, open tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. The landfill is open tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Curbside management, or better known as Kirby, is accepting recyclable materials from residents today at their facility located at 116 North Woodfin Avenue in Asheville. That is open until 4 p.m. There will be a drop-off area for recyclables just inside their gate. Please note, only recycle is accepted, not household waste. So again, Kirby, you can go to their site at 116 North Woodfin Avenue until 4 p.m. today to drop off recycles just inside their gate. We've had a lot of questions on debris removal, and it continues to happen at critical infrastructure, which is our medical facilities, sewer, and some school facilities. Next, we'll move to residential debris for Buncombe County and City of Asheville. Over the weekend, we'll be sharing more information, but in the meantime, we encourage you to start separating storm-related debris at the curb in the right-of-way according to material type. So appliances, construction debris, vegetative debris, and electronics. You can start separating those on the curb, not in the roadway. This is not a one-time pass. We will come through your neighborhood, multiple trucks, and different times. So residents do not have to bring all of their materials out at one time. Do not place debris near or on a tree, poles, or other structures. This includes fire hydrants, meters, and curbside trash cans. Again, do not block the roadway for large trucks and emergency vehicles. Currently, contractors cannot pick up debris on private property. Please do not attempt to start your cleanup process without protective equipment. Protective equipment includes masks, long pants, safety glasses, gloves, and sturdy shoes are highly recommended as you begin to start your cleanup. Residents should not attempt to bring debris to the landfill. Mud or soil will not be accepted at the Buncombe County disposable facilities, any of the Buncombe County disposal facilities. Again, as you start your cleanup, please be careful and protect yourself by wearing masks, long pants, safety glasses, gloves, and sturdy shoes. We will continue to share some guidelines on debris pickup. You can go to buncombeready.org and our social media sites. We've been talking about our community care stations for a while, and I want to let you know the one in Swannanoa is open at 2319 2319 Highway 70 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. These community care sites are offering showers, laundry, bathrooms, access to cell towers, Wi-Fi, potable and non-potable water, and counseling. Hot meals will be available between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. If you have detergent, shower shoes, towels, and toiletries, please bring them with you. But if you don't, they will be provided for you. Yesterday, at our first full day of operations at Swannanoa, we were able to provide 139 showers, and we were able to offer use 58 laundry users at that site in Swannanoa. Emergency responders will have access to the station outside of those public hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you're coming for laundry, please know that it is a wait, but they will get you taken care of as soon as they can. We also have a comfort care station at AC Rentals. However, the laundry component is not yet fully operational. We're working as quickly as possible to get that piece finalized. A disaster recovery center is now open at AC Rentals. That is AC Rentals High School, 1 Rocket Drive in Asheville. This is a one-stop shop for assistance, including FEMA and the Small Business Administration. We encourage people who have been impacted by the storm to visit the Disaster Recovery Center. Assistance teams are also going out in the community to help survivors apply for assistance and report any emergent need. Please be cautious of scammers. FEMA will never ask for money, and staff will always have a badge. We know you're all ready to take advantage of our parks and libraries, but those remain closed as that staff is working on our emergency response. We look forward in the near future to welcoming you back safely. Our Board of Commissioners will meet on Tuesday, their regular meeting Tuesday at 5 p.m. to take up critical business. Our building is still without water, so this means the meeting will not be open to the public. It will be streamed live on our Facebook, which is www.facebook.com/BuncombeGov, www.facebook.com/BuncombeGov. Public comments can be submitted to the clerk of the board by the following means. You can submit via email to sarah.gross, that is GROSS, sarah.gross@buncombecounty.org with subject line, public comment, October 15, 2024. Or you can contact the clerk to the board at sarah.gov@buncombecounty.org by Sunday, October 13th at 9 a.m. to sign up to provide remote public comment during the meetings. So you can submit an email and it will be read, or you can sign up and you can then have a remote option during that meeting. Excuse me. If you have questions about anything storm related, please call our call center at 828-250-6100. The call center again is 828-250-6100. We will have Spanish operators helping as well. As of 9:30 a.m. today, 30,000 customers in Buncombe County remain without power. With cooler temperatures approaching, including into the 30s early next week, please know our shelters remain open. They're located at AB Tech Conference Center, which is 16 Fernandhurst Drive, a medical emergency shelter, which is for those individuals that need equipment that requires power, at 10 Genevieve Circle, also on the AB Tech campus. The former Gold's Gym, Levant Health, 1815 Hendersonville Road. This is a family-friendly center. And the West WNC Ag Center at 1301 Fanning Bridge Road. This is our pet-friendly shelter in Fletcher. To talk more about staying safe in cold weather, we're joined today by Black Mountain Fire Chief John Coffey. Chief.
Thank you, Avril. Good morning, Buncombe County citizens. I'm Fire Chief John Coffey, Black Mountain Fire Department. Just letting everyone know, this storm has really put a difficult situation on the fire service. We're doing the best we can. We can't stress enough how thankful we are to our outside resources helping us complete our missions and keeping the citizens of Buncombe County safe. But with that, we need your help to continue that, to keep everybody safe in Buncombe County. And a couple of things to hit on is safe heating practices. So as the weather's getting cold, we want to make sure that everyone knows not to use your gas ovens or barbecue grills or anything inside your home that's not approved or recommended as an approved heating source in your home. If you need assistance with that, you can call any of the fire departments and they can give recommendations on what those sources might be, other than using unapproved heating sources that could cause a fire or other dangers. The other thing is generator safety. There's a lot of portable generators being used. We just ask that you follow manufacturer recommendations. If you don't know what those recommendations are, a good rule of thumb is do not operate the generator inside your home. You want to operate the generator at least 20 feet away from your house and away from any open doors, windows, or vents. The concern there is carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is colorless, odorless, and is potentially deadly. If you recognize any signs and symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, such as headache, dizziness, shortness of breath, confusion, loss of consciousness, please seek fresh air and seek emergency medical attention. We can't stress carbon monoxide alarms. There's very few, limited in some of the pods and fire departments. But if you have a carbon monoxide detector, please make sure those batteries are working properly. Other than that, we thank you for your help. We couldn't be doing this without the citizens of Buncombe County. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And Chief will not be available for questions after this. He's got a call and he's got to go out and respond to that. Next, we will hear from Dr. John Gossett, AB Tech.
Thank you, Lillian. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, our employees, and our students, I'd like to thank our community of volunteers who have come to our rescue. County, state, and federal partners are all working hard, and we're proud to be a part of those solutions. As I said last week, all of our campuses are being used in the relief effort, and we are very proud to do so. We continue to check on our employees. Our faculty are checking on our students. It is our highest priority at the moment. Last week, I told you that we were going to shoot for October 14th as an opening date. That's not going to happen. We are dependent on water. However, we are very optimistic and thank those men and women on the pipeline who got that first step done just a few days ago. Now, our tentative date for opening is October 28th. There are a few programs who will start before then: nursing, allied health, emergency services, law enforcement. Your faculty, students, will call you on when and where to restart your studies. Details of all of our re-entry into the fall semester can be found on our website, abtech.edu. Look for Helene Recovery. As we move forward, we will try and use all manner of media, both legacy and social, to communicate with you, our employees, and our students, and our community as we move back into the fall semester. As mentioning our students, they have suffered. Our employees have suffered. If you feel so inclined, please go to abtech.edu/giving to support our students and our employees. We will come back. We will come back better than ever. I am beyond grateful for your support, and I am beyond proud to be a part of the solution in Western North Carolina. Thank you. Lillian?
Next, we'll hear from Dr. Susan Mims, M-I-M-S, CEO of Dogwood Health Trust.
Thank you. Good morning. I am Susan Mims, and I have the pleasure to serve as the CEO of Dogwood Health Trust, a private foundation serving Western North Carolina and focusing on improving the health and well-being of all people and communities in this region. Like almost everyone in this region, my family has been personally affected by this storm, and my heart hurts for Western North Carolina. I want you to know that I am with you, and I know the strength and determination of our region to get through this together. My team and I are heartened by the stories of neighbors helping neighbors and strangers alike, and I know that is the Western North Carolina way. And this kind of camaraderie is essential for us to move forward together. To do our part, Dogwood Health Trust announced more than $30 million in initial relief funding last Friday. This funding is in addition to our budgeted commitments for 2024. And I'm grateful to our board for supporting the distribution of additional dollars in this time of need. As of today, I'm pleased to say that those dollars have been distributed in community to organizations for immediate relief and response. These initial dollars fall in 3 areas. First, funding to local organizations that can quickly deploy resources and respond to urgent needs of the people and the geographic areas most affected, including supporting our primary food hub, Manna Food Bank. Second, support for assessment, navigation, and legal services associated with getting timely FEMA aid. And third, funds for our community health centers to maintain critical health services throughout the region. We know that this will be a long game and will require sustained resources for a long time for Western North Carolina to recover and rebuild stronger. So we are working with local, state, and national partners to attract additional resources to the region. And we are joining with partners to advocate for public dollars. As we focus on a coordinated response, you'll notice that some of our initial grant making was to organizations who will redistribute and re-grant Dogwood Health Trust funding. This was intentional because every organization, all of our funding partners, including Dogwood, have been significantly impacted by this storm and have strained capacity. The idea is to use Western North Carolina organizations to deploy our funds through their networks. And our partners are doing this with amazing speed to put these dollars and resources to work as quickly as possible. With so many organizations in need, we're working to coordinate this approach for nonprofits to request and receive grant dollars efficiently in this initial disaster relief. So for instance, Dogwood made a lead gift to the Community Foundation of Western North Carolina's Emergency Disaster Relief Fund, which is getting $25,000 emergency and disaster relief grants for frontline human service needs at this time in Buncombe County and the other 17 westernmost counties for Western North Carolina. You can apply on their website. If connectivity is an issue, please call this number, 828-254-4600, 4960. Again, that's 828-254-4960. If you are part of the Impact Health Human Service Organization Network, sometimes called HSOs, as part of the Healthy Opportunities Pilot, you will receive an application directly from Impact Health about support. If you are in Avery, Mitchell, or Yancey counties doing on-the-ground relief efforts, please reach out to the AMY Wellness Foundation. And if you are in Burke, McDowell, Polk, or Rutherford counties, please inquire with the Gateway Wellness Foundation about relief grant making. And if you are a member of WNC communities across our region, please reach out to them directly on their website. We will have links to all of these applications available on our website by the end of today at dogwoodhealthtrust.org. This is a start, and Dogwood is just getting started. We'll make announcements about additional funding for continued relief and moving into recovery and rebuilding support soon. Part of that support will include funding in the areas that Dogwood Health Trust traditionally funds, including early childhood education, health and well-being, and small businesses, and more. We are fortunate to have so many strong partners who understand Western North Carolina to collaborate with. We are committed to relief in the short term, and we are here in the region for long-term funding for years to come. Together, we want to make sure that everyone has a voice, and our many partners are connecting throughout our region. As a pediatrician, I know that when a kid breaks a bone, it grows back stronger. And I know Western North Carolina will be stronger as we come through this effort together. Thank you. Lillian.
Thank you so much. Next, we're going to be joined by Dr. Ashfaq Asanudin. The spelling of that is ASHFAQ, last name AHSANUDDIN, and he is joining via Zoom. Doctor?
Hi, good morning. Thank you again for the opportunity to communicate with our veteran population on this platform. My name is Ash Asanudin. I'm the Chief of Staff of the Western North Carolina VA Healthcare System with the main medical center here in Asheville. I wanted to talk about some updates that we have for our medical center and our healthcare system. But first, I'd just like to say that the VA's overarching message at this time is one of progress. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is medication. I just want to remind veterans that they can obtain medication in one of three ways. They can come to the main medical center and pick up medications in person at the pharmacy. They can call our regional clinical contact center at 855-679-0074 and press 1 for a pharmacy representative. Or they can go to any retail pharmacy within the community care network with a written VA prescription or an active VA prescription bottle, as long as it's not older than 6 months, and they can obtain a 30-day supply. The next thing I'd like to talk about is our operational status. Our community-based outpatient clinics in Hickory, Franklin, and Forest City are now open from Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. They have returned to normal operations. The main medical center here in Asheville is open for pharmacy services and emergency care. However, our emergency department remains open 24 hours, 7 days a week. Our clinical departments that provide outpatient care here have limited appointments at this time, as we're actively assessing and gradually increasing our scheduled patients. We have limitations due to power, staffing, and damage that was sustained by the facility during the storm. Our phone lines and our communication platforms are all fully operational, and veterans can contact their primary care team or other clinical teams via phone or by secure messaging. We have been able to leverage a Veterans Affairs resource. It's not a typical Veterans Health Administration resource, but a mobile vet center, which allows travel for and access to counseling and other services, has been loaned to us, and right now is at the Appalachian State University campus in Boone, North Carolina. They've been there since yesterday and will be providing mental health services as well as volunteer services donations. In terms of shelters, I spoke last time that as of Monday, September 30th, we had already started making in-person contact with veterans who had been displaced and were at the shelters. And I'd like to say that we, as of October 10th, have assisted ABCCM in moving 92 displaced veterans thus far from those temporary shelters to a hotel that ABCCM has been able to contract with. We are supporting them and providing services on site at the shelters and at the hotel. The last update I have is that the Secretary of the VA, Dennis McDonough, paid a visit to the Charles George VA Medical Center yesterday. During his visit, he took the time to personally meet with displaced veterans at the Ag Center shelter, engaging with them and expressing his support. Additionally, he connected with the dedicated VA staff at the facility to convey his appreciation for their hard work. He met with a lot of facility management, environmental services, biomedical engineering, all the people that got us out from underwater and back operating, and listened to a lot of our stories about staff and veterans and the contacts that we had made. He also had the opportunity to speak with several FEMA personnel, many of whom are veterans themselves, and express gratitude for their collaborative efforts. So in closing, I would just like to say to veterans that are listening on this platform, if you're not able to get to us, we will get to you. We are open and we are here to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final community update is from Ben Woody, Assistant City Manager with the City of Asheville.
Thank you. Again, Ben Woody, Assistant City Manager, City of Asheville. I am going to provide the full City of Asheville update today, as City Manager Deborah Campbell and Mayor Manheimer are currently meeting with the Acting Secretary Todman of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, along with our Asheville Housing Authority. So today marks day 16 of our emergency response and recovery effort. Our three priorities remain addressing the basic needs of our most vulnerable communities and community at large, restoring water service, and community safety. So I'm going to start with water and mill distribution. Our water distribution sites remain open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Those locations are Pack Square Park, Asheville Middle School, Shiloh Community Center, Lucy Herring Elementary, and Oakley Elementary. Each site contains bottled drinking water for drinking, bulk water for flushing, and meals ready to eat. One thing I do want to note is these sites are seeing a lot of traffic, both vehicular and pedestrian. And we urge people, as you use these sites, just make sure you're aware of traffic and pedestrians around these sites, because they're very busy at times. We also continue to do focused distribution of water, food, and supplies. So we're bringing those to our most vulnerable areas based on our climate justice map. And then finally, if you haven't already, please sign up for AVL alerts. There is a link on the front page of the Asheville website, and that's the best way to get timely notifications and updates on our response to Hurricane Helene. A couple of notes on trash. We continue to work to collect household trash. I think we're trying to prioritize the areas that were previously inaccessible. If your road or your trash was missed due to accessibility, please call our sanitation division at 828-259-5857 to request pickup. Again, 828-259-5857 if you need trash pickup. City of Asheville only. Thank you. Yes, that is City of Asheville trash pickup. Not if you're in the county. Good thing about City of Asheville, a little bit of positive news is we are planning on Monday, October 14th to restore regular household trash and recycling pickup schedules. So beginning Monday of next week, please sort your recycling and trash as you normally do and put those out for collection. Just a reminder, please don't put storm debris in the trash or the recycling bins. Last general update for the city is our bus service, beginning next week, Monday, October 14th. The ART system, our transit system, is going to roll out a second phase of service, and that's going to be an expansion of hours. So we're going to move from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. To beginning next week, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So a little longer service window for that public transportation. We'll continue to include the flag stops, and that's where you can just wave a bus down from your preferred location and get on it. Last outbound trips from the transit center will depart at 6:59 p.m. We're also going to bring 3 additional routes online. That is the N1, 170, and S4 routes. So again, those will pick up next week on Monday. Any route modifications are available through the ART website. That's our transit provider on October 13th. So again, tomorrow you can go to the ART site to see this information. Or register for alerts. If you need information, you can also call the transit customer service line at 828-253-5691. And our overall, with the addition of these 3 routes, the ART system will have 14 of the 19 total routes operational beginning next week. We'll continue to have some modifications made due to storm impacts, and our staff will continue to access options and hopefully be able to open those remaining 5 routes as soon as possible, and more to come on that. So that concludes the general city updates. So we'll move to my normal updates, the water system. So yesterday we talked about this briefly, but a significant milestone was accomplished by our contractors completing the construction of the 36-inch bypass main that connects the North Fork water treatment plant to the distribution system. Another piece of good news is last night, our water resources staff was able to begin pressurizing and filling this bypass main and the distribution system that's directly adjacent to the water treatment plant. So again, we're beginning to be able to put water into the system, but I'm going to spend some time talking about some of the challenges that we still have with the overall process. So there are really 2 limiting factors that exist with returning the North Fork service area to service. The first continues to be our ability to use the North Fork water treatment plant to filter and treat water. And our challenge remains the turbidity or the murkiness of the reservoir. And the second challenge we're going to talk about today is the complex process that's necessary to pressurize and fill the pipes in the water distribution system. So we've got an image on the screen. I'm going to try to talk through this. Hopefully it's helpful in kind of understanding what we're trying to accomplish. So I'm going to start with the treatment plant. As we've said before, our ability to remove sediment from the reservoir water is critical to making our filters effective in treating the water and putting it in the distribution system. What we've done in response to this and in consultation with the Environmental Protection Agency is the Water Resources Department is hiring a private contractor to source and install curtains in the area of the reservoir closest to the treatment plant. And on the image, what you can see is a solid line, and that will literally be a curtain that'll be put in the reservoir, and that creates a 500-foot perimeter around the intake structure. That's where the water goes into the plant. What that allows us to do in that curtained off section, when we can get it installed, is begin to provide coagulation. And again, that's the stickiness of the clay particles that are floating. We can begin to provide coagulation in that controlled environment and speed up the settling process in that confined area of the reservoir. So again, our goal is to get those curtains installed, begin treating the reservoir itself, and that's a treatment that mirrors or is similar to what would ordinarily happen in the treatment plant. So we're really kind of expanding this out into the reservoir, and that is materials that we are sourcing and trying to get in place right now. The other part of this, though, is on the other side of the curtain. So the beyond that curtain, we're going to also do the same treatment process in stages moving out away from the plant. So again, we are just trying everything we can to get this reservoir to begin to settle and not be as turbid as it currently is. But we also understand that there's a desperate need for water in the system. And so because we're not able to fully utilize the treatment plant at this time because of the condition of the water, because it's turbid, again, that's just sediment. The decision has been made in consultation with the EPA to go ahead and begin pressurizing the distribution system directly with reservoir water. So we are moving the reservoir water directly into the distribution system in lieu of putting it through the North Fork water treatment plant. So while this water may contain sediment, it will be highly chlorinated to provide as much disinfection as possible under the circumstances. So what that means for the North Fork reservoir treatment area or distribution area is if you begin to get water, and we'll talk about what that looks like, there will be a mandatory boil water notice. It will be in effect until our sampling demonstrates that the water is safe to drink. So until that time, we recommend you use bottled water for drinking, cooking, or brushing teeth, or that you boil the water for 1 minute before using for any of those purposes. So if you're in the North Fork area or Swannanoa and you start to get water, please remember that you are under a boil water advisory. It is going to contain sediment, but if you take those steps, it will be safe to use that water for basic needs. Another thing that we've gotten a lot of questions on that I want to address is if you begin to have water restored and it looks dirty at your house, you can certainly close the valve to your hot water heater because it's going to have sediment in it, or even your whole house filter if you have that, to prevent sediment from accumulating. If you do close that valve, just remember to open the inlet once clear water is restored. It's also best if you get water and you don't have power, you would want to shut off the power to your hot water heater. So again, if you do not have power and you begin to get water, go ahead and shut the hot water heater power off at the breaker. We're going to communicate this more after this meeting, try to get the word out to the community. Another couple of things to keep in mind, ice makers, probably go ahead and turn those off. Toilets, probably turn those off as best you can. If you need in your house to flush water, if you have discolored water, please flush that through a bathtub faucet. So again, we'll have more information that we'll push out about this and what to expect as water begins to return in the North Fork system. And again, hopefully, so looking at this image, I also want to talk a little bit about the distribution system. So that's our next challenge. As I previously stated, we have begun the process of pressurizing the bypass line. And we started that last night. So today, our focus is to begin pressurizing the North Fork Lake Eden area. So that's where we're at. One thing to keep in mind is, remember, before the storm, we had 3 lines that came out of North Fork. We are confident that with the bypass line, we can get water to the entire service area. But please understand, having 3 lines makes that happen a lot faster than having 1 line. So we are still limited to that 1 bypass main to begin getting water into the distribution system. And just to talk a little bit, and you can see on this map is, we have a singular line that really comes out of the water treatment plant. And as we move into the community and into the system, lines and other pipes begin to branch off of that. So the closer we get to Asheville, the more pipes we have to fill and go through the process I'm about to describe. And you can see we have a note on there that says incremental restoration because we can't do this all at once. We have to restore areas incrementally, one at a time. And the way that looks is as we begin to pressurize an area in the distribution system, the water is introduced slowly in a controlled section of a primary water main. So as we introduce that water into that main, it allows us to remove airlocks. So all these pipes have air in them, so we have to get the air out. We actually have valves that allow us to do that. And it also, we have to flush the system. So what that looks like is as we begin to put water into a main and the water spreads, we have to release air. We have to open hydrants to flush the water. So you may see water coming out of a hydrant. That's okay. That is us just getting the air and flushing the system. The other thing that happens is as we begin to pressurize a section, we are going to find new waterline breaks that we previously were not aware of. We have to repair those before we can move to the next area. We have our crews and our utility partners from across the state on standby to make these repairs as they're discovered. Once we complete an area, we will move to the next area and repeat the process. So the process that we're going to use, it's going to be measured, it's going to be intentional, it's going to be incremental, and it's going to move in a general westward direction from North Fork toward Asheville. That's the way it's going to work. Areas that are closest to North Fork, you will receive water first. Areas that are the greatest distance from North Fork, you will receive water last. I don't have a timeline, but that's the process this is going to work. Another thing I want to note, a big challenge for us really this weekend and into early next week, the first stage of this where we have to pressurize the system, fill the lines, remove the air, make repairs, that's going to be in the Swannanoa River area. So the first place we have to get back online is what I would call basically ground zero for the destruction of the water system. So these first couple of days are going to be a tremendous amount of work for our crews to pressurize and make repairs. We believe that once we can get past Swannanoa, it'll become easier and faster to pressurize the system. But we've got a big weekend this weekend to try to pressurize the area around Swannanoa. And so that concludes my comments today. We do have Clay Chandler, the Water Department Public Information Officer, and he's going to answer questions today. Thank you.
Pertaining to water, Black Mountain has 2 different water sources. They are beginning to run water in Black Mountain through those pipes. We have sent out a message to those community members in the town of Black Mountain. If you have water, do not drink that water, even if you boil it. Do not use it to brush your teeth. Do not use it for any purpose other than flushing your toilet if you start to see water service in the town of Black Mountain. So a courtesy message from them. Also, we sent out a message similar to what Ben was saying around water heater safety, and this was a request from our fire marshal. But if you have no water, please ensure that the breaker in your panel box is turned off. If electricity is restored, the water heater will start heating up, which can cause a fire if there is no water in the tank. Once the water is restored and the tank is full, you can turn that breaker back on. And I just texted my husband that same message. Oh gosh, we need to turn that breaker off. From our planning department, I got a message from them as we were here. They wanted folks to know we have completed 959 surveys in the community already. They encourage you to please go and get that permit if you're going to do to rebuild and do construction. Permits are free right now, so please get that permit. There are 2 benefits to this. One, it helps with FEMA. And it also ensures you are working with reputable contractors. Our permits office is open. You can give them a call. You can go to www.buncombecounty.org/permits, and they will help get that process going for you. But take advantage of this. It is free and it will help you have a really smooth process to the extent possible during this really difficult time. At this point, we will turn it over to questions from our media partners who are joining on a Zoom link.
Got a question for Clay Chandler.
Hey, is this John?
It is John Boyle with Asheville Watchdog. Hope you're doing all right today. Appreciate the information. It sounds like when Ben says, got a big weekend coming here in Swannanoa, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are y'all hoping to have the distribution system in Swannanoa pressurized this weekend?
We're certainly hoping to. Now, how possible that is going to completely depend on how this first stage goes. Like Ben said, Once that system starts to get pressurized, it's going to be whack-a-mole to where there is damage that we haven't even seen yet because we can't see the pipes. But when water starts flowing through them, where there's a hole in the pipe, it's going to shoot pretty much straight up in the air. And it's just going to depend on what level of damage we're dealing with in this first stage.
Okay. And going back to the curtains that are in North Fork, so they're in place. Can you give us an idea of how much they'll reduce the turbidity? Will they within a week or so, will they get it down to where it's drinking water quality?
So this is a treatment process that does have precedent. It's been used before. We have never used it ourselves. And so sort of putting any kind of expectation on how fast it will make those clay particles kind of clump together to make them heavy enough to sink. We're just not at that point yet. And
last question I'll have is, I know y'all have steadfastly stuck to weeks as an estimate, which I understand the reasoning. It sounds like you're getting closer, where maybe folks are going to start seeing water in the next few days. Am I taking that wrong, or is that a fair assessment?
I think it's a fair assessment to say that the timeline right now is fewer weeks than it was when we started.
But still sticking with weeks as a estimate.
Yeah, we're still sticking with that. We don't want to put a number in front of weeks as badly as people want us to, and as badly as we wish we could, because we don't want people to make plans around that number and then we don't meet it and they're even more frustrated than they are now, rightfully.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hi.
Thank you, Clay.
Hi, it's Laura Lee at Blue Ridge Public Radio. Hi, Clay. I don't know if this is for you or Ben, but could we just go back over? I'm a little confused about what people are supposed to do in anticipation of this water coming out in terms of it having additional sediment. So turn off the ice makers, turn off toilets now, and is that applying to everybody? And then what, if any, potential damage are we risking to household pipes or appliances by having this water that's not going to be as clean come through the pipes?
So sure. Yeah. So the water is going to have significantly more sediment in it than it normally does. And so an ice maker, for example, anything that has a filter like that sediment is going to gather up into it. So you need to shut off the water source to it. Now, as far as toilets, that does not mean that you can't flush your toilet. It just means that while you are not using it, you need to cut off the water supply to it to keep that sediment from building up. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. And the same with the hot water heater, it should just be shut off entirely until.
Same kind of thing. Yeah, especially so if you have packed electricity right now and you don't have water flowing to your hot water heater, it for sure needs to be turned off, because if that hot water heater is turned on, it's looking around in its tank for something to heat up, and its heating core is getting hot, and that heat is concentrated on the perimeter of the tank. Roughly, that's a very rough estimation, instead of being concentrated on the water that should be in it.
And in terms of the coagulant that you're talking about using, that is in lieu of the filters that would typically be used. And also you mentioned it has been used in other places before. Could you tell us where that has been used?
I don't have that list off the top of my head, Laura. If you'll follow up with me, I can get that to you.
Thank you.
Hey, Clay, this is Greg Parlier at Mountain Express. A couple follow-ups to that. The first one is regarding water has reached parts of the city from the Mills River treatment plant, including as far north as Oakley, as far as we can tell, maybe other areas. What happens when the water coming from North Fork starts to mix with that? Should people that have gotten water already from Mills River expect their water eventually, as you get past Swannanoa, to mix and become more sediment heavy? And should they make some kind of preparation for that? They may have turned on their hot water heater since they got clear water apparently from Mills River. Should they make any changes based on what you're saying now from this North Fork water?
That's a good question. So I think we've shared our water treatment facility service map before, and those boundaries are not precise. So especially if you live like in the border areas where North Fork serves, just north of you, Mills River serves where you are and south of you, we are able to, and this is going to be a little bit technical, for the most part, valve off those service areas and keep the water coming from Mills River and from North Fork separate. We can't keep, for the most part, we can't keep it completely separate. So yeah, if you live in sort of the border areas, in those service districts, you might want to take the same precautions I mentioned a minute ago.
Okay, and I have another question regarding Ben mentioned heavily chlorinating this water that's coming from the reservoir that's going to be laden with sediment. Will the city track the level of trihallomethanes that are known to be carcinogenic in the water as potentially water enters the water treatment plant and comes out? I mean, if we're heavily chlorinating this water coming from the reservoir, what's going to happen when more water, when the water is coming from the water treatment plant, once we make that switch and mixes with regular water and we get to drinking, what toxins that are in, or things that are unsafe level of chlorination, how does that mix? How do we handle that?
Yeah, so once we actually start the treatment process, I mean, we'll go through our regular, procedures that are heavily regulated by agencies like the EPA, and that'll track not only, like you mentioned, the chlorine level, but a long list of other toxins. And so we're going to be, as cautious as humanly possible before we start running water through our filters for a couple of reasons. Number one, to make sure the water is as clear as it needs to be before we can do that, so we don't damage our filters. And, we do daily testing already for a lot of, undesirable things in our water. And those test results are going to have to be at an acceptable level also before we push that water through our filters.
So there's no plan to specifically track trihallomethanes or anything else?
I mean, I'm sure there is, Greg. If you'll follow up with an email, I can probably get you a better answer. I just don't have any details off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick question, Andrew Jones from Asheville Watchdog. Does the same go as far as turning things off in preparation for water flow? Does the same go for radiators? Because I think a lot of houses have radiators in the Asheville area, maybe some older places. Just want to check on that.
Yeah, that would apply to radiators too. Anything that has a heat source that depends on water, you probably need to turn it off. That's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Laura again. Is the Mills River facility functioning properly? We have some reports of people who had water they believe to be from Mills River who now do not have water again, and just wanted to check on the status of that.
Yeah, so that's a really good example of why putting a timeline on this remains pretty much impossible, because I forget what day it is this week. I don't know what day today is. When Mills River got up to its normal output, based on the information and the data that it was showing us, we thought that it was going to be able to pressurize its entire service area. Since then, we have learned that, based on that facility being offline for a couple of days and the unpredictability of restarting it, that it has been unable to pressurize areas of that district that rely on what we call high pressure lines. And those are lines that generally serve, tanks that serve areas in higher elevations. I know Bent Oak Lane and Mills River, Brayside Circle are a couple of areas who have had difficulty because they're both on high pressure lines, and Mills River just, the pressure is not such yet that they can fill those tanks that serve those areas. And so that's a complication that we learned about in real time. And also serves as a really good example of why putting a timeline on this would be just at this point, number one, inaccurate, number two, irresponsible.
Clay, we've had a lot of questions in the Facebook chat with people who want a comprehensive review of the boil water advisory, whether they're part of the North Fork or the Mills River. Can we just remind people from the beginning what that boil advisory means, what it applies to, and which reservoirs it might apply to?
Sure. So if you have water right now from the city of Asheville, Black Mountain being a little bit of an exception, you are under a boil water everything but consumption. And that consumption means drinking, cooking, brushing teeth, unless it is boiled for vigorously for at least 1 minute.
And can you remind us about Black Mountain? What's the status there on the boil water advisory? They're not supposed to drink?
Black Mountain is beyond a boil water advisory. Town of Black Mountain, remember, they have multiple water sources, not just City of Asheville water that they are purchasing. Their water, they are starting to run through their system. It cannot, even if boiled, it is not safe for any of those purposes. It is only safe for flushing toilets. So if you are in the town of Black Mountain and you're receiving water, do not use that. Do not feed it to your pet. Do not use it to brush your teeth. Do not boil it and assume that it is safe until the town of Black Mountain sends you a follow-up message to let you know that that status has changed. And we are using our iPause or our reverse 911 system to communicate directly to individuals in that area about the status of that water, but really want to make sure that folks in the town of Black Mountain know when you start to see that water come back on, it still remains unsafe for any use, even if boiled.
Lillian, it's Laura Lee at BPR. Couple of just clarifying questions. So the AC Reynolds facility that has the FEMA disaster assistance.
Yep.
Has all of the other quote like comfort care situations, showers, water, Wi-Fi, everything, just not laundry? Is that
correct? Correct. Yep. And we've got folks who are there utilizing those services right now.
Great. And just moving to other sort of critical needs, is there any information from Duke? We're hearing from a lot of people that they are not hearing back from Duke Energy about their power situation. Is the county receiving any information or updates that you could provide about restoration of power for people? And then the same question on mobile service.
Sure. We'll ask Bill to come back and join us for another update from Duke so he can provide that to you. And we'll reach out to those other service providers. Like I said, we reached out to Spectrum. Haven't heard back on that yet, but we know that those cellular providers as well, folks want to hear from them. So we'll see about getting them to come join us for a future briefing. Other questions in the chat?
Is FEMA currently on the ground in Black Mountain? And if so, what are the resources like there?
FEMA is, I saw them yesterday. I stopped by their operation at the grocery store, the Black Mountain Ingalls on Highway 9. And so they are currently there functioning, helping to connect those disaster recovery services to survivors of the storm and start that process there, but also throughout the county. Like the county manager said, they set up a brick and mortar, so to speak, operations at AC Reynolds High School that folks can go to and access those resources there as well. They'll always have a badge. They'll never ask you for money.
Lillian, I do have one more question for Clay, if Clay
Okay.
could return.
He's excited to answer your question, John.
Hey, Clay, will y'all be having any kind of map that will show which areas will be restored and in what order?
Yeah, sure. So that was the plan for the briefing on Monday. And it'll show sort of the stair-step process of the different sections moving from Black Mountain toward Asheville that will get service. So yeah, we'll definitely have that.
Okay, and then I know Swannanoa, the hardest hit. Are there any other areas distribution line wise that y'all know sustained similar damage or anything close to that?
I mean, obviously Swannanoa bore the brunt of this. Tunnel Road is another area where the damage is fairly significant, not as bad as Swatanoa, but it's going to be a pretty heavy lift there to get all the distribution pipes put back together. And as we move westward into the system, and I want to be clear, there is still damage to the distribution system as we move westward. It's just not as severe.
Okay, thank you.
Not to disappoint Clay, but I have a question for, I guess it's for Lillian, possibly for Ben, about public housing.
Hang on, I need to clarify one thing about the boil water notice. One thing I did not mention, along with all the washing you can do with it, you can also shower in it. You know, if you're bathing small children, just make sure they don't get water in their mouth or anything like that. And it's probably a good idea to give newborns and infants a sponge bath instead of running water over them. I meant to include that, sorry.
I think Ben and I may tag team on your question, Laura.
Great. Yeah. Just wondering if there's any, we've heard some pretty dire circumstances in some of the public housing. I know HUD is here today. Wondering if there's any particular outreach or assistance that's been provided to them in terms of both, non-potable water, flushing assistance, but also financially. We understand that people in public housing are still being asked to pay rent on time.
So I'll answer the part of the question that I think I can answer accurately. Thank you. So we meet, the city manager meets with the executive director of the housing authority daily. So we are in constant contact to make sure that the city can do what's necessary to meet the needs of the residents in public housing. And we're prepared to continue doing that. I, this time, am not able to provide an answer in terms of any rent or financial conditions that exist within that agency.
If you'll send that to the city's PIO team, they can follow up and track that for you and provide that update.
Sure,
Any other questions in the chat? Coming up on 12:04 here. As we wrap this up, just wanted to share one thing that happened last night that felt a little hopeful. And I know, I think we're projecting this online, but folks in this room won't see. But last night in Swannanoa, where I live, and across much of Western North Carolina, folks were able to go outside their homes and take in and admire the beauty of the Aurora Borealis. And again, this evening, we might have that opportunity. We're hearing that it's possible. Of course, the Blue Ridge Parkway remains closed, so don't head up there to try to get a glimpse. But as we are in this process and recovering together, it felt important to show a little bit of the beauty that is around us as we continue our recovery in our beautiful Western North Carolina and Buncombe County community together. So thank you and be well.